So I'd like
Yeah.
to start really quickly with a couple things that we do here on these
You
calls.
want to record or no?
We are
Oh, you
recording.
are recording.
Yeah. Donna, instead of going through things and then bringing them up, how about we're going to be doing some fun things on this call? We're going to be playing some excerpts from the Access.me platform. And we're going to be saying some funny things too, like right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 100, shorts, boys, pavets, creations, bases, and beyonds. Basically, that is the clearing statement. You can go to theclearingstatement.com for a further explanation of that. But basically, what we're doing is actually, you know what, Simone? What do we do with the clearing statement?
What are we doing with the clearing statement? We
Yeah,
are destroying and uncreating all of the crap that's in your life. It's like getting a computer and pressing delete, 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 delete. And you're like, oh, I have this amazing, beautiful blank space. Now I can actually ask, what's my point of view here? What would I like to choose here? Because we get so mixed up in everybody else's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And all from based on a choice that you did in a previous lifetime or this lifetime. And then you get stuck and fixed on that, and it's not yours. The clearing statement is amazing. There's so much in it.
When you were saying you delete, 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 I didn't think you were ever going to stop because I have so much crap from all my years.
Well, after yeah, if it was you, I would just keep going. But
Well,
I'm
thank you,
like,
thank you.
mine is less. No.
How does it get any better than that? Oh my gosh, let's keep going forever. Betsy, I'm not sure if I have sharing ability. Do I?
Yes, you do.
Awesome. Wow. So how about we introduce Simone, by the way, real quick. This is Simone Milasas. She is one of the, really truly, one of the co-creators of Access. You've been doing it for how many years?
Doing it or
Creating.
involved
You've been
in
creating
access?
with Access. You've been
Yeah.
using the tools. You've been doing it
24 years.
all the
24
things.
years.
24 long years. Please tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about you.
Tell you about me.
You know
Gosh.
what? Or I could just ask you questions.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm a little fried from being on Creative Edge. And I'm like, I was thinking that everybody on here has already done access. So you're talking
We're making it future proof.
you are making it future proof. I like it. Well, okay. So here's a quick short story. Is I would say from a really young age, at about 16, 17, I was like, none of this makes sense to me. None of the world makes sense to me. There has to be something different. And everyone was like, "Oh, I'm going to go and study this at college, and I'm going to get married and have kids." And I was like, what am I doing here? This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But there was nobody around me that I perceived I could talk to. Like then I was just the weird one, which I was weird anyway, like the black sheep of the family and all that sort of stuff. And so for me, I made this like I wanted to go explore the world, and that was what really drove me to. As soon as I could, I left Australia and I traveled for 3 years overseas. And through that time of traveling, I met so many amazing people and so many different cultures and different land. And again, I was like, none of this makes any sense to me. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter what religion. It doesn't matter how much money they have or the poverty, etc. I could see that people were still choosing something limited. And the one thing I also noticed was people didn't seem to choose to be in communion with the earth. And from a very young age, I grew up on the south of Sydney, like really south of Sydney. We grew up on the national park. So we were the edge of it. So my afternoons was like playing in a massive river, water skiing, going out in a boat, like just
Oh.
being in the national park. And I grew up with such a sense of nature was such a contribution to me. And I saw people just ignoring that and making things relevant that I perceived weren't relevant. So what I did do, breaking news, I actually ended up taking a fuckload of drugs and because it was the only thing that seemed to make sense to me. Like I was like, yeah, this is more my reality. And me being me also, I was the one who did more than most. And even, can I say, created, I mean, I wrote the book Joy Business. So taking drugs, I went, this is not fun having no money. Let me create it as a business. So I became a drug dealer in Sydney, very successful one.
I know that.
Never have I heard this.
There you go.
Gary was Gary Douglas, Gary Drugless, not
Yeah.
drugless.
Oh, yeah. I was, yeah. And then, but I also made the demand that I would make enough money so I could create my own business. And I did that. The person I was dealing drugs with kept going, and I was like, no, I'm done. I reached my what I wanted, and then I was done. And I also, so my first class that I went to, my first like what is now Choice for Possibilities. I also had a music festival the following weekend. I always think it's funny when I talk about these stories because there's somebody here that's going to create freedom for them. And I picked Gary and Dane up from the airport, and just before I had seen my drug dealer at that time, and I had 25 ecstasy tablets in my pocket, and we went to the First Choice for Possibilities class, which you could find on the Access Me app. It was in Brisbane. We will find it at some point because actually I wouldn't mind listening to that again because
We'll find it.
I was just nonstop asking questions. So it would have been in about 2002, I think, towards the end of the year. Maybe 2003 early. Anyway, around then. And Gary was talking in the class, and he was talking about taking drugs. And he said, if you take drugs, it's like sitting on the edge of the fence. He was like, in choosing consciousness, one day you'll get impaled. And I was sitting on the ground, and I just started crying. And he came over during the break, and he said to me, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Yeah." I said, "I'm good." I said, "You just got me on the drug thing." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well," I said, "I do take drugs." And I told him, I said, "I've got 25 ecstasy tablets in my pocket for next weekend at this music festival." And he was like, "Okay." And he said, "Well," and I love this about him. He said, it's a choice. And I walked outside and I looked at this and I was like, it is a choice. It was a beautiful summer's day in Queensland. And I went, I can just jump in my van and go to the beach and just forget about all of this. Or I could walk back in and find out what the hell this guy's talking about. And so I did. And then during the week, because the next weekend was my music festival, and which I used to have my business at, so it was a big thing. And I used to take a lot of drugs so that I could be, my point of view, jovial, happy, sell, stay awake, all of that, party and everything, make the business successful. And during the week, I rang him and I said, "Hey, I've made a choice." And he was like, "Okay." And I said, "I'm not going to take the drugs." And he was like, "Okay." And he said, "Can I ask you what you're going to do with them?" And I went, "Yeah." I said, "I'll sell them." And he goes, "I've got a better idea." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Flush them down the toilet." And I was like, whoa, 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 baby steps. I was like, "Do you know how much that costs?" 25 ecstasy tablets. And I was like, "I will sell them, and I'll sell them at cost price so I don't make a profit." So, but the thing was, the whole time, he never did this thing of going, "You're making the right choice. You shouldn't do this." And somewhere I know, and I've spoken to Gary and Dane about this, somewhere I know in my world, I wanted them to say to me, "You're wrong. You can't take drugs." Because if they did, I would go, "Fuck you. I'm out of here. See, nobody tells me what to do." And they never did. So I got to this music festival, and I sold the drugs at cost price, and I didn't take anything. I had 2 beers over 3 days, nothing. And I worked. But what I did have was Dane. I rang Dane every day, like probably twice a day at really odd hours. And he was so there for me. And I don't even remember what we spoke about. He would just calm me down because I was surrounded by people who were out of it. My friends were freaking out because I wasn't out of it. And they would like run away from me because I was too straight for them. And Dane was just there, and he would just talk to me, and he was so calming. But again, he wasn't making me right or wrong. He was empowering me to choose. And I never took drugs again. That's pretty much me though. I'm like, all right, I'll take lots. And then I'm like, nope, that's it. Because what I also discovered was what I found in drugs, I found in Access a billion times more, and not the come down, and not the, all of the fucked up shit that goes with drugs. So I just want to say everything that this is that brings up for you, maybe in regards to me or in regards to yourself, can you please destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion.
Right on, good dad, pod pog. All 100 shorts, boys, both ads, creations, bases, and beyonds.
And I've told that story probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, the whole thing. So, and
Thank
then
you for sharing.
you're welcome. Well, look, here's the thing. I like to say I've lived a colorful life. I have no place to judge anyone of what they've been and done. And And that's what for me access consciousness is about. Is not about judging yourself and your choices, and it's not about judging anybody else and their choices. I am not ashamed of anything I've chosen, and oof, have I got some stories in my colorful life, which I'm sure as I meet a lot of access people, you're like, oh, we would have had a great time together at that moment. But the funny thing is, now we're having a different time together, and it's so much more of a contribution to what I get we are here on the planet for.
That's awesome, Simone.
We
Thank
just
you so
started.
much.
We
Yeah.
just started, and she's already
Mic dropping.
you're already dropping the mic. Donna, do you have anything before we get in?
No, that was just awesome. Thank you
Oh.
for sharing those energies, Simone. I do think it's a great way to start a listening party because we don't know how far these will go in the world. So there may be somebody who's like trying to change the way they are with drugs, and judgment doesn't actually assist creating any change. So thank you for showing us that possibility of with no judgment, you have the capacity to change things in your life, whatever it is that you might like to change.
Yeah. And I don't know if anyone's like can find these quickly, but on Access Me, I also know that there's a money class that I did in Colombia.
We're going to be
Years
looking
ago
at these,
in
yeah.
Bogota, Colombia. And it was interesting because it was a money class, but what I did talk about my drug dealing days, which I think was hilarious in Colombia.
in Colombia.
I know. And it was a good like rounded up like money class, and I did talk about that as well. So if you can find that, you can find that.
We're going to be looking for these. Yeah, we're gonna be going into the app here pretty quick, or at least the web app, and kind of playing around and finding some things.
Nice. There's so much in there, like so much in there.
And I just said it on one of our calls recently, the Creative Edge call, and I still am asking. It's not a question, but how is this all still relevant from 25 years ago? How is it still relevant today? I don't get it. Like, it's
So
shocking.
yeah, I know. And on the Creative Edge that we're just talking. So one of the classes that we were talking about is there is a class in Gold Coast, Australia, and I do have the link for that somewhere because Brett sent it to me. And I actually organized the class. So here's the thing: it was a 2-day class, and it was with Gary. Dane was doing the recording at that point, and it was 250 Australian dollars for 2 days. I remember I had 55 people in the class because Gary and Dane were like so excited. They were like, "Oh my God, if you can create a class like this, we'll fly out here every month." Like flying out to Australia in economy, staying in a pretty shitty, cheap hotel, by the way. The Australian dollar was like 56 cents in the dollar. So it wasn't about a monetary profit. It was about the changes that we could generate in the world and with people. And this money class. So when I came across Access, I was like, oh my goodness, this is everything that I desired to create, because I had a business called Good Vibes for You that I was attempting to create change in the world. And I was succeeding to a point. And then when I met Gary and Dane, I went, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm seeking. This matches the energy of what I know is possible. So I started using the Access tools, and they worked. Surprise, surprise. And yet, some of the tools I refused to use was the money tools. And when I organized this money class, it was called the money class, keep it simple. that money class was then put into the book, Money's Not the Problem, You Are. That was one of the first books that we ever created. And here's another story. Gary never wanted to create books because his point of view was that the information changes all the time. And we had to convince him to do Money the Problem You Are, because we said, Gary, these money tools are so pragmatic. Those tools are not going to change. Maybe the energy changes, and the clearing stuff will change, etc. But those really pragmatic tools will not change. And that's when he went, you're right. And we were like, let's get it done. So I was the one who created that first book that we got published, Money Isn't the Problem You Are, in Australia, in a place in Brisbane. And I used to order I'd order 2,000 books, and I'd get a pallet, and I'd get a pallet sent to me, and I'd have it in my garage, and any book that got ordered, I would be sending it out. And then we got a pallet sent to Santa Barbara to Susie's, and Susie would send it from there. The second book that we ever did was Relationship. Relationship is not a 4-letter word. but sex, what is it? No, sex is not a four-letter word, but relationship
Which
often
sometimes
is.
is.
Yeah, and so we self printed those books, and that was part of my first like worldwide coordinator job. But let me go back to the money class. Is you can hear me in the money class, and I'm like such a rookie. It's like really interesting, my vibration, like listening to myself. And it's I listened to it again recently and I gained so much awareness from it, because it was that money class that I sat in the audience and I went, what the fuck am I doing? I know that my financial reality is a mess, and every other access tool I've used has worked. Why would I not choose the money tools? So at that class, as I listened to Gary, I chose 3 tools. I mean, I could have chosen all of them, but I chose 3 tools and I hated them. And I went home and I had one of those, calendars that you have on the wall, and I marked a date of exactly 3 months, and I was going to use those tools for 3 months. But here's the thing, somewhere in my world, I had a back door. At that 3 month point, I was going to prove that these tools didn't work, something like that. And it's insane, because I wanted to prove that having no money was okay, and having no money, I could still create something. Having no money, I could change the world, right? So 3 months, right, gave myself, and I went through all my finances and I looked at everything. And that's when I realized I was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt. And the 3 tools that I used, and I kept using them, and I kept using them. And then at the end of 3 months, I looked at everything and I was like, I looked at everything and I didn't have like these copious amounts of money. But what I noticed was there was 2 things that had changed. One, I wasn't desperate to find my rent that week. I already had it. And I was like, that was new, because every week, rent was due Friday. Every week I'd get to Wednesday and I'd like, fuck, I've got to hustle. How am I going to get rent? And that was so familiar. And I noticed that I actually had rent, and I noticed there was a difference in the energy that I had with money. And I looked at because one of the tools I used was the honor account, the 10% account. And I looked at my honor account and I was like, well, there's not that much money in there. But I went, oh, but there was an energy that was like created like this sense of peace in my world. Like I had money, and I realized I had never given myself permission to just have money. And that's definitely what the 10% created for me. And then so I went, okay, I'll give it another 3 months. And so I kept going and kept going and kept going. And I'll give you that's one of the tools, is the 10% honor account. Another tool that I took, which was so life-changing for me from that money class, is one of the things I realized was I wasn't I didn't know what my point of view about money was, because I would see anything. So if I don't know, you walk outside, or I don't know, I'm going to show you these earrings I have on, right? They're really light, but they're diamond earrings. So what immediately comes up for you? Do you like them? Can you have them? Are they expensive? Are they exactly? And it's like, but who the fuck point of view is that? And it's like, so what I realized was I'd walk past a restaurant and go, oh, that restaurant's too expensive. Or walk down the street and go, oh, this is dodgy. I'm going to get mugged. And it was like, wow, money creates judgment. And so what I did was everything. I would walk through neighborhoods. I would walk through, different shops. I would watch documentaries. Those documentaries you get of like, I don't know, I remember this one like of a kid growing up in the Middle East, and for his birthday he gets a 14 carat, gold bicycle. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. So I would pock and pod all my points of view. Anytime money, a nice car would drive past, I'd pock and pod my point of view. I'd pock and pod my point of view on everything, 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 everything. Walk into a shop and look around, because immediately you'll go, I can afford that. I can't afford that. It's like, that's how you create a fixed point of view about your financial reality. So, and the OCD and autistic thing comes out in me, and I just went crazy with everything. And I'd give myself home play. I would literally walk around neighborhoods and pock and pod everything, pock and pod, or drive, etc. And as I would pock and pod my point of view, then I would follow it with, if I was choosing my financial reality, what would I choose? Like in regards to this or with this? And everything at that is times a gazillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all 100 shorts, boys, perverts, creations, bases, and beyonds. Let's use it with the app. How many of you are in the app? How many of you are not in the app? How many of you are judging you can't afford it, or you're in the app and you're judging you still can't afford it, or something, some point of view that you have about the access.me app based on money and not based on what you can choose so your life can be greater and more. And everything at that is times a gazillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right on.
Right on, good, bad, pod, pod, 100 shortest voice of that's creation, bases and beyonds. Donna, we had 3 questions from Gary. Do you have them handy?
Oh yeah, let me grab.
Thank you. And Simone, it's shocking to me that you're talking about this. And so I've been in Access for a few years. Whatever. One time I was at Gary Dane's house and I was cooking him lunch and I was doing stuff and Dane's like, "Hey, do you want a Coke?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Bottle or can?" And I'm like, "Oh, can's fine." And he goes, "I think bottle tastes better." And I'm like, "All right, bottle." Gives me the bottle and what the French toast. It was so delicious. I'm like, this is fine, but this is exuberance.
Yeah.
This is just orgasmic living, and it's a Coca-Cola. Like, so where am I? And I used to go out to dinner and I'd take $100. This is all I'm going to spend. I wouldn't even take my wallet. It's all I'm going to spend. And so I'd say, okay, well, this is 60, but this is 30, and I will still have money left over, even though I planned to spend 100. Well, so
I would like, what if you never planned anything and you chose everything?
I'm
Like,
sorry. What if you never planned anything and you chose everything?
yeah, like one of the things this is, Joe Rogan I listen to his podcast every now and then, and one of the things he said ages ago was he made the demand of himself. This is my words, that he would be able to walk into any restaurant at any time and order whatever he wanted and not have a problem with paying it. And when I listened to him say that, I went, "Oh, I have that. Even if it's a $2,000 bottle of wine and that I desire, I can choose it, right?" And it's like, so what if you never planned anything, but you chose everything? Now, I used to walk past restaurants that had, you see the white tablecloth and the beautiful wine glass, and I'd be like, "Oh," I'd run a million miles because I'd be like, I definitely can't afford that. If you have that as your point of view, I definitely can't afford that. That is what you'll create. So what if you just went, you know what? I'm going to go out to dinner and I'm going to have some, yummy, amazing, beautiful food that, that contributes to me, etc. And you went with that and you didn't make it about money. So, hey, but here's one thing I want to say too is what I was like, that money class changed my financial reality. But I listened to it again recently and I realized that I have changed my financial reality. I learned what it was like to have money. I received that. And then, different investments that I have. I'm recently just investing even more in Elugar. I'm buying another casa in Elugar because why not? I just so.
You buying me one?
Huh?
You buying me one?
No, I'm not buying you one.
Okay,
Not
sorry.
yet.
What?
Not yet.
Good for
So
you.
maybe. And then, but I'm investing more in that. But I also, listening to the money class again, I realized that you create this flow and you start receiving, and then you go bloop, bloop, and I created fixed points of view around having money. So if I let those fixed points of view around having money go, then what else can show up? Like, we control no money, but then you control money, and it's like none of that works and none of it like increases everything. So, and I mean, even the story you just told about the Cokes, I remember being on a plane many, many years ago. We were flying from Australia to New Zealand, and we were on Emirates A380 plane, which is an amazing, beautiful plane. And Gary and Dane were in first class, and I was in business class. And it was a big deal that I was choosing business class. And I was in business class, and I went up to visit them, and I was so excited. Like, in Emirates A380, you get like your seat, your cubicle, you can shut your door, you get this bag that you get your pajamas and your slippers in and all this sort of stuff. And I was so excited to see what they were receiving. And as I walked back to my business class seat, which I was so proud of, in my head, I heard myself go, "That is so amazing. I'm so happy that they've got this. This is enough for me." And I went, "What the fuck? Why would you not ask for first class? Why is business class just enough?" So it's like everything you are currently choosing, be proud and grateful for what you are choosing, but please don't stop asking for more. It's okay. You're allowed to ask for more. You're not being the greedy fucking bitch that your family has told you you're being, okay? And everything at that is times a godzillion. We destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all 100 shorts, boys, puppets, creations, bases, and beyonds.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Do any of you or all of you just want to be enough? Do you want to be enough for clients? Do you want to be enough for your life and living? Wow.
Nope.
Book that. Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How
So
many
questions
times?
from
I think
Gary.
We're just
I'm
going to be.
excited. You need to get like one of those little, those really cute little mic drops.
I have some.
The
Oh,
little cute ones.
No.
You can get them on Amazon. They're like a little mic. I kept meaning to buy one so you can do these little like mic drop.
like on a pendant.
I mean, yours is
I'm doing
perfect.
this. I'm doing this. What a great segue into what else is possible with Access Me app. You did send a link over, and it was one of Gary's classes. You were talking about Gold Coast, and it looks like I found the Gold Coast class.
The money class, yeah.
The money class. Money, gold. Is this the right one?
Oh, I need to put my glasses on.
So it says money, Gold Coast, May.
No, that's it. That's it.
Right. Simone, why don't you pick a day, a number between 1 and 7,
Day 2, number 2.
and then pick something between. Let's see here. Oh yeah, sorry. Pick something between. Let's do it again. Hold on. That was my fault. I should have already signed in. Money, Gold Coast. All right, so day 2. All right, so pick something between. I'm gonna pause. Pick something between 0 and 1 hour, 18
Go
minutes.
into 6 minutes.
6 minutes. All right, so play.
I'm getting some of this. You got another thing coming.
6 minutes.
Okay.
That's good.
So we went out to dinner. The dinner cost
Can everybody hear that? All right, here we go.
$35. How many days of wage is that for me? $35. $5 a day. Okay? That's a week's worth of work. As she gets up to go to the restroom, when the check comes, her checkbook falls out of her purse and is lying on the ground open. And I pick it up, and she has $47,250 in her checking account. That was broke for her. Me? I was $100 overdrawn. That was broke for me. So it's all relative as to how one sees broke and broke, okay? So don't buy to somebody who doesn't have money. Who paid? Who paid? I did. Who was stupid and insane? Oh, yeah, I was. Okay? I invited her to go out so she would feel better about the fact that she was broke. The fact that she could buy and sell me 8,000 times didn't matter to her. She was more than happy to receive from me.
I usually don't stop them so soon. Yet.
I can tell about that story though, and I'd like to point out a couple of things. So the beginning of the story too is this woman who was basically complaining that she was broke and blah blah blah, and she was doing this Dios mio thing, and Gary, here's the piece I want to point out. Gary's generosity of spirit is off the charts. And so he was like, okay, this woman, requires something. So he also gifted her a class, and he took her out to dinner just to show her that no matter where you're at, like, live and celebrate. Okay. So that's what he did. And we came in sort of in the middle of the story, is that when she went to the bathroom and her bag sort of got knocked off, and her checkbook, he saw her checkbook, and she had $47,000 in there. So for her, she was broke at $47,000, and Gary had fuck all money, but he was so willing to gift to somebody else to change their reality. And I was talking to my Pilates instructor the other day, and she was talking about because she works with Shannon O'Hara and me, and she said, I listened to both of you and like the success that you have and you be, but she said also, I hear like that generosity of spirit that you have with others and with people. And she said, I'd like that. She said, I'd like to be contributing to, and not from like saving people just because you can. And there is something that you can choose with money that changes people's lives. Absolutely. Like, where are
Yeah,
you not using the money to change people's lives?
Yeah, I'm wondering how many of you guys that are on here right now have that generosity of spirit in your world, and you haven't acknowledged it lately. How generous are you really, and what would change in for you and everyone else if you would acknowledge the generosity of you?
And since we're talking about money, let's consider the generosity of money. Because I know there's generosity of spirit in so many different ways. There's your energy, there's your smile, there's so many different things. Let's consider money here, since we're focusing on money or talking about money, and how could you turn it up? How could you outcreate it? And how could you outcreate your money situation so it's easier to change other realities with money, with total
And,
ease, pock and pod.
yeah. And I love, Donna, that you actually are asking people to acknowledge where they are, because we're so often are and we don't acknowledge it. It's we've got like these classes in Australia happening at the moment, and I've got 3 of my friends who are heading up to the Sunshine Coast tomorrow from Brisbane, and they're flying from other side of the world. And I was like, they need somewhere to go before their Airbnb. And I said, come to my house, come and hang out. You can sleep, shower, get bars, like go to the beach, do whatever you want, mi casa si casa. But also the way they were coming up was from this shuttle, and it was taking ages, and they couldn't get it for a few hours. And I said, here's the thing. I said, let me book a driver for you and come up so that you'll be up here earlier. And they were like, oh my God, you are changing. And it's not much money, but they went, you are changing so much in our world. And I went, what, showing you ease, joy, and glory?
All of life.
World. It's like, but I was just like, let's do this. And then the way their gratitude, I was like, oh, and it's like, it's not about the money. We make it about the money, and it's not about the money. Like, I'm incredibly grateful that they're also coming here, and I'm grateful for the beings that they are. What can I contribute?
Gosh, that's like talking about the two-way street of contribution, which I love so much. And I know that for me and for so many other people, Access Me has that contribution where it's the simultaneity of gifting and receiving, and it's this magical, miraculous place that is undefinable. People don't really understand how it works. Like, how is it I'm looking for this one thing and then this is showing up, and it works in this magical way, which is so on par with what you're talking about. The generosity that you be that changes. Like, if you, yeah, it's just such a, like, what if we were living from the miraculousness of generosity, and contribution and consciousness?
You'd have to be willing to be out of control and stop trying to control the limited life that most of us choose.
Postage
And
stamp
that's a
life.
daily demand as well. Can I just say?
Oh, what is that clearing? Out of control, out of conformity, out of linearity, out of limitations.
What would happen? Yeah, what would happen if you're out of control, out of definition, out of form, structure, significance, out of linearities, out of concentricities, and out of limitations with your life? And everything at that is times a gazillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod,
Pod,
all
all
100
100
shorts,
shorts,
boys,
boys,
POVADs, creations, bases,
spaces,
and beyond.
creations, and beyonds.
Donna, I love the. You,
Come on,
Pod
we're
Pocker.
having a duet. It's
You're
so
Simone's
fun.
Pod Pocker. Holy shit! How cool is that? Wow, thank you. Wow, this is so. I am so grateful we're talking about money. And I can't go to the gallery of all the people, but energetically, raise your hands, and I'll see it energetically or feel it energetically. Who wants to change their money situation?
Yeah, and me too, though. I want to change my
Exactly.
money situation
Exactly.
too. It's like, because everywhere that
you.
you're currently stuck with money, what if you could unstick it by the simplistic, pragmatic tools and pock and potting everywhere that you think you have a money problem? And everything at that is times a gazillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, pock, all 100 shorts, boys, POVADs, creations, bases, and beyonds. I do want to mention something real quick. Simone, at one point, I don't know what I was being or what was happening. You said, hey, come to my Joy of Business class. And I'm gonna get emotional right now. It changed everything for me. That gift and that class. And not just in business, but with money. I'm so grateful. Oh, there's a ton of Joy of Business classes on Access Me. And how much, what do you charge for those? I mean,
They're so good.
I don't know. They're about 3,000 or something like that.
and
2,800.
3,000, and for a whole year of listening, that's the cost of that one class.
Mm. And there's a lot
300
on there.
bucks, 300
Done
300 bucks for a
classes,
year.
getting out of debt joyfully classes. It's like there's so many on there. I
Getting out
think
of
there's
debt.
even the ones that I used to do from making something like making it in the impossible to possible or something like that. That was the early business classes that I used to do. But the thing is, the older classes, like we've mentioned, they're not like out of date. They're like, if anything, you rehear these like simple tools that you use them again, and it's like there's another explosion of possibilities. And can I say, we're talking about business now, and thank you, Arthur. There's also the class that I sent you, Donna, the link. This was the first class that I ever went to in San Francisco. Like I traveled, right? And a little backstory here. My father, who was one of the kindest, most generosity of spirit men I've ever met, he died about 12 years ago, and it was quite old, and he was my accountant as well, and he was an entrepreneur. And my whole life, he empowered me with, Simone, this is your life, you need to choose, right? But he was always there for me. I had a mean, nasty mother, another story. Let's focus on my father, who was amazing. I remember the day I was in Gold Coast. I was doing the recording then. Dane had quit. I was doing the recording, like way back in the day. There was an intro class that Gary was doing, and my parents actually came, and my father walked in, and I was like, oh, he's coming to see me. So my father, he walks up to Gary, and he introduces himself and shakes Gary's hand, and he says, thank you for looking after my daughter. And because he knew my father was so energetic, like he would perceive energies, like, and so many, like Chris Hughes, my father absolutely adored Chris Hughes. And when I spoke to him and I said, hey, there's this class that Gary is doing, it's called the business class in San Francisco, and I would like to go. I knew that I was in debt. I knew that I had no money, all this sort of stuff. But I always had access to be able to create it, whether it was on a credit card, etc. My father said to me, you know what, it's going to cost you about $10,000 to figure out if this is what you want to do. The cost of the class, the travel, all that sort of stuff. And he said, I think you need to go to figure out if this is what you want to do with your life. And I'll never forget that, because for me, I was going because I wanted to know more about business. But my dad foresaw the future of me working with Access. Yeah. And so I went to this class and I sat in the front row, just like, oh my God, like looking up at Gary, because, yeah, Gary was. I always knew that I was different in business. And I did learn at an early age, because I'd talk about stuff and I'd see people look at me, had no idea what I was talking about, or they would put me down. And so I realized at an early age, I can't talk about everything that I'm aware of with this in regards to this. So talking to Gary, I went, oh my God, he's not talking about anything that I don't already know, like that energy, but nobody talks about it. So he was like acknowledging all this stuff and adding to it as well. And one tool that I so got from that class was that I was a control freak of magnitude, because he said to me, do you have the point of view that nobody can do the business as well as you? Which was, yes, nobody can do it as well as me. I'm the one who knows my business. I'm the one who can do everything best. So at that moment, I realized, oh, I'm hiring people who are not as good as me. And I realized I have to go home and I have to start hiring people who are better than me, better at sales, better at accounting, better at client, cold calling, better at everything. And as I started to do that, the business started to change. Now, the interesting thing is, skip forward, you're also going to find this class on the access.me app, is I did a Joy of Business taster in, this is years later, in Sweden, in Stockholm, during a class that Dane had a class on. And that was the first time I ever met David Kubis, which a lot of you guys know David Kubis. And he stood at the mic. I was like, if you want to get an example of what it's like to pull energy, this gentleman over here, because David was like there and he was like, you are going to help me. And the tool I gave him was that exact tool. He used the tool. Like, that's the difference. I used the tool. He used the tool. He went back to his law firm in Austria and changed everything. And from that moment on, his whole business exploded and changed, and it was much more ease for him. So the thing is too, you've got to use the tools, but you can find those classes on access.me too.
And I already get that we should have gone 2 hours on this. Are you good with time, Simone?
I am at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for all this. I know this is an Access Me listening party, and I know we're kind of doing other things, but we're following energy. And if you don't follow the energy, then you're not following the energy. Simone, thank you so much for that control thing. And I'm sorry, Donna. You're amazing.
You
I've
too.
been so fucking controlling lately. Oh my God. Shut up, Arthur.
It happens, man. The thing is, we're all on this, like, what I love about listening to Simone, to you, or hearing stories about Gary or Dane, is that we all start where we are. We all start where we are, and every day we start where we are, and none of us are perfect, and we're all, like, I love that you said we're using the tools. I think Access Me makes using the tools so much easier. Like, I have classes everywhere, but like, you listen to stuff, like I'll play things just on my phone, right? So I can be in the bathtub and I'm like, and it's a reminder, like there's so many things that we are aware of all the time that it's easy to get sidetracked and easy to go off on tangents. And you might be like, really, 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 I'm going to change this money situation. And then you get caught up in family drama, or you get tugged in this direction. And somehow the app just keeps sprinkling these seeds of possibilities to help you. It's really there as a helpmate. Like, it's like, we talk about with horses. Horses are here. Gary will say there are helpmates. I was just with Allison with the horses the other day, and I was reminded of that. Like, I was like, oh, you guys are here to help me. And I feel like the app is like that. It's like a snuggly, sweet energy that gives me wedgies sometimes that are not comfortable, but it is the snuggly energy that, like, just is contributing and letting me know the universe really does have my back, and that it works with me in this crazy, miraculous way all the time. And I adore you, Arthur. I just, I'm grateful to have people in my life and access, like, that we go through these journeys and we do things that aren't our best choices. And it's always a new starting point. Like Gary said one time in a facilitators class, somebody was saying, like, well, how do you create your business? And he said, well, you wake up. And that was it. Like, it was like, that's where you start. You wake up, you get out of bed. Like, that's really, every 10 seconds is a chance to start. So the app is a companion with that.
Amazing fun tools. Live every 10 seconds. There's no past, there's no future. There's now, there's 10 seconds. And gosh, what was it? I was so gratitude. Wow. If you're grateful for everything, how can you judge anything? If you're grateful for everything, how can you fight, resist, react? Where's
there is
there?
no judgment in gratitude.
What's that?
There's no judgment in gratitude.
Zero judgment. Where are the speed bumps, roadblocks, walls, barriers? When you have gratitude for everything. I mean, I'm grateful for the fibers and the carpet because they make it easier on my foot. What if you're grateful?
I'm grateful for them
What
too, because I like you having comfort with your feet.
I have big feet, a lot of weight here. I mean, I'm 6'7". I weigh 260. What?
6'7".
6'7". All right. Access Me listening party. Let's listen to some more. Just okay. Here we go. Share. I'm going to the class that you shared, Simone.
Okay.
I think this is it.
It is.
Simone, please pick a day.
You choose. No, you choose.
Okay, I will. I'm going to choose day 1, number 5. And I'm going to go about 17 minutes in. Play. Oh, I need to refresh.
Big bucks, no whammies. 17 minutes in.
Yep. Here we go. So this down. Go. Day. There we go.
I love that we just called them the business class, the money class. Keep it simple.
So, yes. I just want to simply, the only butt you want is the one you sit on. Because as soon as you say but, what you've done is just counterintuitive what you were going to do.
I am liking what it is, so I'm going to go back a little bit. All right, here we go.
Wanting it for the offensive name.
Well, if you want to give it to somebody, is that a limitation of you? Yeah, if you have the idea of want, you have already created a limitation. Okay? All right, so, let's talk about a few words. before we go to lunch and make a few more minutes because
if you want something, it's a limitation.
yes. Okay, want has 27 definitions, which mean to lack. Every time you say I want, you're saying I lack. And that's exactly what shows up in your world. You know, it's like there are some words you should use differently or eliminate from your vocabulary. Why? Which is always the fork in the road. If you take enough right forks, you're right back where you started. Try. You're not going to try anything. You're either going to do it or not do it. Try to stand up. Nope, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. You can't try to stand up.
You already said that.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it again. Why try? Need. Need is always the point of view of not enough, which leads to greed, which means you try to hold on to what you got, which means you're not going to let anything else in your life.
What about desire?
What does it do with words?
Desire is fine. I don't care about desire. It's good stuff. Why try need, want, which is the lack, but the only but you want is the one you sit on. Because as soon as you say but, what you've done is just counterintuitive what you were going to do. I would like to go, but means you didn't want to go in the first place.
Someone asked me about should when I went through the whole list. They go, what about should? And I went, well, that's a good question. Should
No.
they?
No, everybody does. You know, everybody in the metaphysical community does the shoulds and stuff. But I don't find that
Well,
there's...
here that wasn't metaphysical, but anyway.
Okay. Well, it's like should is not on the list in the sense that really there's no self-implantation that occurs afterwards. These particular words implant in your universe
Oh, should.
whatever you say afterward.
So should doesn't do any implants.
No. Okay? So why try, need, want, but, and never? Never cannot exist.
Said why?
Why, try, need, want, but, and never.
What does that mean?
Why?
Yeah, what does that mean?
You go around in a circle. Ever had a 2-year-old
Why? Why?
that ask you why? Until finally...
My own.
Okay, she's a 2-year-old. Look at this.
What just happened?
Linguistics, which
And
the
so-
app is so great at linguistics. It's blowing everybody's languages just out of the water right now.
So Gary and I were both English majors.
Me too.
Were you? You're a teacher. To me, I was spelling bee champ. I was used to 5 books a week. I'm so into words. I have I have favorite words. I have a favorite word. I speak and I learn new words every day. And Simone, earlier you said a word and you said, let's see here. You said weird. So in the 1828 Webster's dictionary, the word weird, which I go by the 1828 dictionary before everything was muddled by people. Weird is skilled in witchcraft. That's it.
Yes, I am.
So how weird are all of you?
Hmm.
You know what? Let's table that and go back to the what Gary just talked about in that class, which was I just messaged Donna. Why try, need, want, but never? Simone. Huh?
Well, can I say, when I first heard this as well, and there's nothing more annoying than someone who does quote unquote access speak, where you try, because the thing is, access is not always grammatically correct, but it's energetically correct, right? And it's like, so for English majors, they get tormented when they first see some of the books or some of the manuals, and they're like, what the fuck? And you're like,
Oh.
it's energetically correct, okay? So if you look at that, but then also like play with these words, and like when you like, so, you know, if I'm talking to someone on a plane, you know, or like I'm meeting someone, I'm not going to eliminate these words that I can connect with somebody. So let's use the word of I'm just using why try. Do you use feel? Like I'd go, oh yeah, I feel like
go
this.
ahead.
Yeah, but for me, what I did for me when I heard these was I eliminated them from my vocabulary for me, so that I could see where I was putting the focus on it. Like,
The
because
positive
say let's use
emotions?
but, because every time you say but, it's like you're eliminating what you just said. You go, oh, you know what, I'm really happy to go to that party with you, but everything you say after the but is what is real and true. Okay, so it's not like I never say but anymore, but it doesn't have that oof energy or like feel. Your body feels. and it's like use sense. Okay. But I'm not going to eliminate that word. I'm going to look at, do I have the energy on it that is creating a limitation? So that's what I played with, all of those words for quite some time. Like, again, my OCD autistic thing comes in where you just like, I will pick something and I will work it and work it and work it. I mean, I used to do that with music. It's like listen to the same song, the same album years ago, until you knew every song off by heart. And then you'd be like, oh, I'm done. And then move on to something different, because then you start actually being these tools too. And I think that's what access.me app gives you, is as you re-listen and you re-listen, you acknowledge where you be this. And for consciousness, there's no end result. You don't go, oh, I got it, right? And we would talk about that a lot in the classes too. You're getting it. We spoke about control, and I could win control freak of the universe, and it's been something I've been working on for quite some time. Control, rightness, etc. And it has eliminated from my world, but it's not completely gone. And I noticed, I was just talking to Gary and Dan before I came on here, and I said, when I start to notice things, and the thing I love about access is when you acknowledge something, you can change it. If you don't acknowledge it, you don't change it. Okay. So I was in the car yesterday with Dane, and I noticed I said a couple of things, and I went, oh, wow, that's from the rightness of my point of view and controlling. I realized later. But here's the thing that I noticed, and it was so minimal, but I also noticed when I do control and rightness, there's this molecule that or more than one molecule that changes within my vibration and my body that is unkind to me. And I was like, oh, so what if we could eliminate all the places that we do control and rightness of our point of view? Because what it's actually doing is limiting you and destroying you and being unkind and mean to you, because you stop yourself from receiving a universe of possibilities. And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 100 shorts, boys, povats, creations, bases, and beyonds.
That's so cool, Simone. Like the difference with being and energy. I think sometimes we practice all these tools and then at some point we start to become them. And access me is really, I was looking at the word want, which is another word suggested to take out. And I heard a long time ago that if you look at people that function as a wealth, want is not really in their repertoire. And now that I'm listening to Access Me, somehow I'm starting to perceive that in way it's growing. I would say it's like a seed that's starting to really grow. Like that want really truly is about lacking what you lack, the energetics of it. And I'm like, wow, I can just perceive it more. It's just incredible to me how much more I'm able to be things now magically.
No, how dare you? Yes,
And
please. More, please.
You're choosing it. And that's the thing too. It's your choice. Like, it's not access.me app that makes you choose it. It gives you more tools and information and energy for you to choose, because this is your life. Where you are at right now in every area of your life, you chose that. Is there an area of your life, you're not fucked up in any area, by the way, but is there an area of your life that you would like to change? Is it with your business? Is it with finance? Is it with your body?
Yes.
Is it with relationships?
Yes.
Is it like whatever that is? It's like, what if we could have more and create more with these tools? Like, what are you here for on the planet? Let's have way too much fun. One of the things Gary said to me many years ago was, what if the purpose of life was to have fun? I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Do you know how many conversations I've had with friends about what I'm here to do, who I'm meant to save? And you're telling me, what if the purpose of life is to have
That's my
fun?
job, to impress people, my parents.
Yeah.
You just want to have fun, you dick.
And I looked at it and I went, wow, what if the purpose is just to have fun? What if there's no wrongness? And what if there's no rightness? What if there is this reality that we create that is filled with possibilities? It's like from the joy of it. I have a question on my office wall, which I can't turn my thing around, but it says, for every choice I look at, I ask, is it going to create a future that I will be happy with?
Wow.
So if you chose access.me, is it going to create a future that you'll be happy with? Like, yes or no? It's like a universal truth is like when you use that yes or no. Yes, no. You're not trying to work it out. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to get it right. You're not trying to judge it. You're not trying to work out how am I going to get there. It's just yes or no. That's it. Then choose.
If you were happy, what else is relevant? Is your
Yeah,
IQ relevant?
very much
Is your
relevant.
bank
That's
account
right.
relevant? Is your place where you live relevant? If you were happy, what else is relevant? I mean,
Yeah.
IQ was made up from some dude that I don't know him and I don't think that way. And they don't know how smart I am. Time was made up, the term time, some guy made that up. Some maybe guy made that up. And I don't believe in that. And I believe in 9 trannies. I can get somewhere way faster or way slower if I choose. So what in this reality do you not buy for you? Do you not live by, or you're not choosing? That is the power of you and the beauty of you being. That you could be choosing everything, allowing that. Right, wrong, good, bad.
Pop online shorts. Well, all 100 shorts, boys, co-eds, bases, creations, and beyonds.
I just threw up in my own mouth. That was awesome.
And thanks for sharing that. Hey, before I jump off, because I do have to jump off in a second,
Thank
you
you.
just mentioned something too about 9 trannies. There is one of the classes, 9 trannies, that was in Dublin. And that's the class that we started talking about engaging with the elementals. And that's exactly what we're referring to now is engaging with the elementals, which engaging with the elementals is that joy, that gratitude, that lust, that peace, that there's a whole bunch of them. But here's the thing, when you judge and when you have any definitions of you, like you define your finances, you define your business, your relationships, etc., you eliminate playing with the elementals. It's like there's a whole bunch of elementals that want to play with you, but they don't play with you when you're functioning from definitions. So that was after that class, I really looked at that. Everything I was defining myself as, destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100 shorts, boys, provids, creations, bases, and beyond. I prefer to play with gratitude. I prefer to play with joy.
The elementals are, by the way, gratitude, silence, joy, allowance, possibility, happiness, dedication to creating futures, peace, calm, kindness, patience, humor, and lust. Simone Milasas just.
Well, the thing is, when you function from the elementals, you have and be kindness. And don't define that.
Meme.
That just made my whole body like just.
I'm not
I was
crying,
at
you're
that
crying.
class in the definitions. I was podpocking definitions forever, and Shannon said this class is like 5 years in the future, and it's so interesting when we do classes. They're always of the future. Like there's the cognitive dissonance class that Gary just finished. People are like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, maybe it's in the future. Like it will be like a garden. It will come to fruition. It will flower, and then it'll flower again, and then it flowers infinitely. It'll just be more and more and more. Oh, Simone, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It's fun to talk about everything that we've, chosen over the years and what else is possible. Like over 24 years, I'm like, we're here. Now what?
Thank you so much, Simone. You know what? If you guys don't want to jump, go ahead. You don't have to. Hold on a second. Simone, thank you so much. Amazing. So grateful.
Thank you.
Oh. Everybody, round of applause for Simone. Thank you. Wow. Oh.
Bye, Simone.
Bye.
Thank you.
What the? What? French toast? Anybody?
Oh, I think he froze.
I think we're so fried that Zoom's gonna quit on us.
He just stopped. There you are. You're back.
All right. I guess that it does mean it's good. Thank you guys so much for joining. What a please engage in the Telegram about what showed up for you, what you got, what changed, what you're asking for. Showed up for you, got changed, asking for. Please share with us. I'll share with you. Let's see what shows up. Thank you all for joining so much. Wow.
Thank you, translators and Betsy, and thank you, Arthur, and thank you, Allison, for doing notes and stuff.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Betsy, and thanks all the translators, and thanks whoever else I need to thank all at once. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh my God.